Right?
So, hello and welcome. Today I'm here with Ben Harlan, the composer behind the gorgeous score found in Goodbye June. How are you today, Ben?
Yeah, great. It's great to be here. Thanks very much for having me.
And you've got some cracking wallpaper behind you. It's
Oh,
absolutely
yes. Yes.
great.
Owls. All the owls staring.
I think I've got a few birds hiding in
Yeah,
mine.
yeah, yeah.
So, to start, I'm going to ask you a really, really hard question. Could you tell me who you are and a little bit about yourself?
All right. So my name is Ben Harlan, and I'm a composer. I had been a teacher for a couple of decades, and but then I decided to stop all of that. I wanted to take composition more seriously, spend some time learning a bit more about it. So I stopped my job as a teacher and undertook a master's in composition. I'm also a clarinet player. I play professionally and always have done whilst I've been teaching, and yeah, and composing music now is the thing I'm very passionate about and want to make into my career.
So, how long have you been a composer now?
So I've been a composer, I suppose, professionally a composer for the last through 2, 3 years, something like that.
Oh, wow. And I mean, with Goodbye June, I imagine it must be to get your hands on a film like that, it must just be so rewarding to be living out this dream and get to be part of such an incredible project.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I hope it's not a once in a lifetime experience, but it certainly, whilst it was happening, it felt like a dream come true. It was absolutely extraordinary. Yeah.
So, with a film like Goodbye June, when you get the call,
Mm.
at what stage in the process of the film are you sort of onboarded? Is it at the script stage? Is it sort of when things are shooting, or is it in the editing suite? At what point do you come on to the film, and how does it affect your work? Like, what's that process like?
Yeah, so I think that I had a fairly unique experience. I knew the director, Kate Winslet, anyway, which was the opportunity was there. I knew her from school. She was a parent, and I was a
Oh wow.
teacher. Yeah, and in fact, her kid and my kid ended up being great friends and would go on play dates and stuff. So it was kind of that was already a little bit strange, but but she was just a pal in the end. She was just like somebody who I saw at school sometimes and said, "Oh, hi," and it was like so it felt quite ordinary. When I stopped teaching, I sent her my reel, some ideas that I'd done, and some pieces for orchestra and so forth, and and in fact I sent it to Joe, her son, because I knew that he was writing this script for Goodbye June. And I said, look, just if you're interested, if there's something I can contribute for, or if I can give some advice, this is just what I'm doing at the moment.
Mm.
And I suddenly got a text from Kate herself and she said, I really enjoyed your work. Can come around and have a chat? And there was a moment. I mean, your question is about at what point do you know when you're actually, when you've actually got it, right? And she looked at me over the table over a cup of tea and just said, "Do you think you can write the score for Goodbye June?" And I just felt my life flashing, and I was like, "Yes, I absolutely can."
Have to think about that one. I'm not sure.
There was not a second. There was no hesitation. But in fact, interestingly, it wasn't quite that simple. She absolutely wanted to sign me up, but then I had to because I was not a named composer
Mm.
in the world of film in the Netflix, specifically in the Netflix world, because it's a Netflix production. I had to then write some music to sort of pass get validate get valid be validated by the head of music in Netflix. Netflix, each department has a head of department, and they need to sign off on every single person. So that was a kind of a nerve-wracking Christmas where I was waiting because it wasn't actually 100% done deal
Yeah.
at that point because they're obviously stumping up all the money and they want to make sure that it's not a risk. And anyway, I got the yes from them, and then I think so that was in February I think of last year, 2025, and then the contract came, I suppose, a few months later. Once I signed the contract, then it was like, well, even then, it was like, okay, well, I'm going to be paid, but is the music actually going to be used? Because they can just change any moment.
Yeah.
So then when we started working, and I started working closely with the music supervisor, James Taylor, and the orchestrator Ben Morales Frost. And then felt, and then I was doing calls with Kate about certain cues. Then it felt like, okay, this is it, this is happening. And then when I heard that we had booked Abbey Road for 2 days, and that was that was pretty extraordinary. So yeah, it was never completely straightforward that I was definitely the music was going to be in the film. I think until they had shot the film, and I started getting edits through, and Kate would send me little edits on a WhatsApp and be like, "What do you think of this? What? Yeah, not what do you think of this? What would you
Yeah.
write for this rather?" Yeah. So
That's so nice. And it's nice that it seemingly was quite a collaborative process among so many people, with the music supervisor and Kate. What was it like working with that team to create the sound of Goodbye June? Because I find it's got such an interesting sound. June as a character has a twinkle to her, and I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
the
yeah.
score has this lovely twinkle. So, what was it like working with everyone on the different teams to find the sound of Goodbye June?
It was fantastic. It was really positive, and it was really collaborative. Um, it was here. It was that nobody was afraid to do a blunder. To
Yeah,
just give an idea. I remember one morning I was like, "Oh, we've got to have trumpets in this," and then we tried it out, and it was like, "That's a terrible idea," and everyone laughed. And it was like, "Yeah, well, you just got to try things." And so everyone was very relaxed with doing that. Of course, you can't be like that in the studio when you're recording the music with the live musicians, but the working on it together was great. And the music supervisor has great ears, has great experience. James Taylor, he really sort of knows how it's going to fit within the whole genre of film, I think. And
mm,
so he was kind of steering sometimes. Kate also has very good ears and is very musical, and she wanted certain conventions, and she never wanted sentimentality.
yeah.
So in fact, the music for the June's theme, that was the first thing that I wrote for the film, and in fact, that's what really really got me the job. June's theme was I wrote that after I read the script and just sent it straight to Kate, just that simple piano music. And in fact, that didn't really change at all from my first conception right to the recording. So Kate was really always really interested in that, and we tried various different things, and Ben tried the orchestrator he tried orchestrating it in different ways, and she never went for that. So again, this feeling of teamwork, trying things out. Okay, that didn't go, but then other things did. I think the glockenspiel that has that kind of slightly Christmassy,
Yeah.
gives everything a slightly Christmassy feel. Yeah, that was kind of, I think that might have been Kate's idea actually. She was like, "Oh, what's that sound? That thing that goes doing doing? Oh yeah, yeah, the glockenspiel." Yeah. So she's got music in her memory, and so she was a guide. She had an inner ear and an inner imagination, obviously. So she guided things, and it was it was very very collaborative and creative and fun.
And it's placed really interestingly throughout the film. The film isn't scored throughout. There isn't music playing in every scene. It's punctuation, and it's used so cleverly in so many different scenes. I love that. It's almost like a vignette when they're sort of setting up June's room, and it's there of like the passage of time, and it just really help beautifully like takes you on that journey. But there are so many different scenes where there are some of the cheekier scenes with the kids and also some devastatingly sad
Yeah,
ones.
yeah,
How
yeah, yeah.
do you find the sound of the film? Because obviously, like you said, it's a collaborative process, throwing a trumpet in here and there, but trying to make sure that the emotion that you need in that scene is there. Is there a certain sort of, system that you use, or is it just having a tinker on a piano and seeing what feels right?
There's definitely having a tinker, but I think that having a tinker on a piano and also having a knowledge of some basic harmonic kind of things,
Mm,
and also things that you're into. For example, I feel like throughout the film, there's definitely a feeling of slightly unresolved dominant seventh chords, which sort of never quite ever just finish. It's always going on to the next thing, and that came to me quite fairly early on because it was the feeling of time passing. So I want rather than start hooking into the kind of the emotion of it, yeah, the sadness of it. But I wanted to more push towards this feeling that just time was passing. It's okay, and it's sort of so it's just kind of a holding pattern. That vignette you said the when June is getting the room ready. That's an example of that. And then when the emotions really sort of start to kick in when she dies, and but also actually there's a one of my favorite scenes is where she says June says to Kate the character played by Kate, she says, "Oh, you don't mind if I'm going to die, do you?" And and Kate's like, is an amazing actor and very subtle, all of that. That is one of my favorite scenes because the music had to sort of interplay between them, and then became very big, and the strings became very very big, and there's some chords that are they shouldn't really fit together, but they sort of bloom out. And then there's the mascara scene where you see her doing the mascara in the window, and there's the snow falling, and the snow actually became a big kind of concept in my mind as well, because June says I might come back as snow, and then at the end of the film it's snowing, and so that theme sort of kept on coming back as well, harmonically. Did I answer a question?
Yes, you did. It's so interesting because the most I can play on a piano is chopsticks, and even then it's very rudimentary. So hearing, this music theory, it's so fascinating because as someone that comes from more of, a film analysis background, but not a music theory background,
Right.
you say, the unfinished chords, it's so interesting because I'm around like there's unfinished business in the family and the blue
That's right.
blossoming strings because there's so much emotion that she's holding back. Like it's so fascinating to explain all of that. And I feel like I already had a deep, understanding and love of the film, but I need to go back and watch it a third time and see all of that again. Like it's so fascinating. Is there a particular piece of score that's your favorite? I know mine is A Good Death. Every time I hear that, I'm like,
Oh, great.
oh, about to go. But do you have one that is either holds a memory of working on the film, or one just musically that you're just really, really proud of?
I'm really proud of June's theme. I'm
Yeah.
really proud of it because it's got that minimalist thing. It has got that unresolvedness to it, and I love the sound of the bass. The bassist is a wonderful bass player, and I love the jangly of the strings. But I also like the one where the elevator panic scene on the album. It's called Just Breathe. That's it. Just Breathe on the album because it's got again the sound of that resonating bass that comes through, and just the feeling of time going past. And again, that's a very simple way to push. The bass is just going do da bam 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 da 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 da. So you have this feeling of like we're never quite on the beat. We're never quite on
Yeah.
the beat. So I really enjoy that. And then yeah, the mascara scene. I'll come back as snow.
Oh,
I just really enjoy that musically. The one of the interesting things about composing music when you have the edit, when you have the actors on your screen and you're writing to them, is that you realize, well, I'd never really fully appreciated the idea that even if, so for example, when they're writing the letter, when June gets the two sisters to write the letter together, they're doing something with their eyes. All three of the actors, Toni Collette, and Kate Winslet and Helen Mirren, they're all doing this amazing thing with their eyes, and I felt like I was choreographing a
yeah.
dance almost. And you get that also with people who just doing movements. There's a scene where the kids turn up at the hospital. The two sisters turn up at the hospital, and the kid jumps out and sort of hops out. And in the music, I think it's just before or just after, I do a little hop in the music, and it's like, I mean, that's quite fairly literal choreographing, but often it's the kind of you're trying to go with some sort of flow of movement, eyes
Mm.
moving, people edit the cuts. You're either going with it or you're going against it. So that's a wonderful process. I really enjoy doing that.
So were you given the final edit of the film to compose to, or was it still being sort of worked on while you were composing?
No, it was I got a final edit, which was not the final edit, but I got the whole film, and they needed to cut about 20 minutes off it. And
Okay.
but I was given the main scenes,
Yeah.
all the main cues, and then some other things got added and things got cut off, and all of that stuff. And yeah, then there was a locked edit, which was never quite locked, and all of
Final
that.
draft
Yeah,
V4.
yeah, exactly. V5, do not change this one, number two.
Yeah. There's all like every single project that's ever existed. There's always like a final V5.
Yeah,
No, no, this one's this. Oh, it's
yeah,
it's nice to know that even at Netflix they have the same issue.
right. Well, I mean, that's just making stuff, isn't it? Just making,
Nothing's ever finished, even the finished product. I'm
right.
sure everyone on the team wishes that. Oh, I would like. Can we just do
Yeah,
that?
yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's fine. And there's nothing like a deadline for creativity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you just got to get it done, and there we go. Yeah.
Sometimes it's those moments where you get those genius things as well. Those final bursts, like let's just throw it in and hope for the
Yeah,
best.
I mean, there was one moment where Kate didn't know how to transition I think it was from the scene where they go to look at the where she turns up at the hospital and she's looking at the calendar on the door.
Yes, yeah, the rota.
It's not calendar, it's timetable, isn't it?
Yeah.
Timetable. And she wanted to try and figure out how to edit that, and she was just racking her brain. She thought she needed a Christmas tune in there. And so apparently she spent all night just going through all the different Christmas tunes that she knew, and then she came up with the Good King Wenceslas. So she was very excited in the morning and said, "We've got to do this. We've got to do a version of Good King Wenceslas because that's going to work, and the transition's going to work, and then that's going to work with the other music before it and the music after it, and so things aren't. Yeah, it's nothing's given, right?
Yeah.
You spend time with it, and you just have to keep on thinking, dig deep. So yeah, and also experience doesn't necessarily mean you're going to come up with the answers.
Yeah.
Sometimes not having experience means that you don't know what's to go wrong, right? You just try something,
Hope for
and
the
that
best.
and hope that yeah, and just yeah, hope for the
Speaking
best.
of digging deep, was there
Mm.
any moment in the film that you found challenging to score? Was there any part of the film that you were like, that it took you, a bit longer, or it took you a while to sort of find that rhythm, find that sound? Or did it all come quite naturally?
No, no, yeah. I mean, part of that finding that sound, I do remember again the scene where they are where they're talking in the hospital, and there's the mascara scene. I keep
Yeah.
on coming back to that scene. First of all, I wrote music to that sounded. I realize now it sounded far too Studio Ghibli.
Oh
It was
yeah.
much too magical. It was much too magical. And I remember Kate listening to it and being like, okay, um, well, and then she's really good at doing feedback actually. She just left it for a little while, and then I think later on just said, "Can we try something else?" And then she wanted something that was she wanted something that was not quite as magical as I'd written, and maybe a little bit more steady.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was that was I mean that was not difficult, but it was just a moment where I'd
Yeah.
written something and I'd become really attached to it, and then I was like, okay, throw it away. And then also the end, the very last scene, that's right, where they are having Christmas together, and you hear June's voiceover, and that was challenging to get the tone right because it needed to be sort of positive but not happy and still sort of pushing forward, but Kate particularly didn't want it to be sad in any way,
Yeah.
but it still had to stay within the realms of the film. It couldn't have suddenly had a big drum or something, drum beat or something. It couldn't just be a totally different atmosphere. Um, so that was challenging in a way, and also again how the orchestration was going to work, the guitar and the piano talking to each other like two voices talking to each other. That was an idea that I had. That was the moment where I thought, okay, now I've got this, because it's going to be this simple tune, but it's going to have a canon effect where you have the guitar playing it, then the piano answers, the guitar piano answers, and that's just going to sort of feel like people are in conversation, like the table. I mean, that's quite literal, but sometimes literal ideas give you ideas to play with. So
Well, it worked gorgeously. Like I said, that final song in the film is my favorite. There are so many gorgeous ones, and I feel like just the score, I feel like it's going to be my new go-to score when I'm writing. It's one of those
oh,
lovely
nice.
scores that I sort of just keep on losing myself in, even without the
Oh, lovely.
gorgeous story, just the music in itself is wonderful. So thanks for that. I'm going to be hopefully nice and focused now. Like I said when we started chatting before we started recording, Film East is a group for young people here in the east of England, and they may
Yeah.
be some budding composers listening to this chat. Do you have any advice for someone trying to get into this industry or trying to dip their toes into some musical waters?
It's yeah. I mean, the advice. I mean, I feel a little bit silly, sort of giving anyone advice. I just happened to know somebody who was an incredible person in the film business. So, you know, I the thing is, I turned up and I had stuff to offer,
Hmm.
and I was kind of enthusiastic. I mean, I think being enthusiastic, you can't beat it. How to get into those meetings and how to get into to meet people at a party, or I mean, I think just go and turn up to things, and that's a tricky nut to crack. I can see that, and I was very fortunate, lucky to know this person. But in terms of actually your own craft, I think what is really important is to have as a wide listening range as possible. I don't think these days there is any such thing as film music that is just for film. I think anything can be film music. I think you can have Renaissance music be in film music. You can have the most current kind of, I don't know, death metal music. You can have anything. You can have synthesis. You can have synthesizer. You can have stuff that sounds like the 80s. You can have people. You can have super experimental stuff. I mean, that score for One Battle After Another.
I
That's
know.
but all it's fantastic, and it kind of harks back to some of the scores from the 1960s and 70s. But it's also got kind of Schoenbergy stuff going on, and and also it's really meticulously orchestrated. There's so many acoustic instruments there. There's flute, piccolo, the bassoon, kind of, and the piano. It's so I just say listen. I would say listen to loads of stuff, and don't be afraid to try wacky stuff as well. Just
Yeah.
throwing saucepans into lakes and recording that sound. Banging thing. Just anything can be in a film.
Yeah. Just find the sound.
Just find it, and be passionate about it. As if
That
you,
is
I think one of the things, if you love it, someone else is probably going to love it too. I think that is a rule.
Well, thank you very much for that. I'm going to go bash out chopsticks and start practicing again once we finish
Great.
this.
It's a great tune. I mean, it's stuck around, hasn't
It's
it?
a classic. It's a classic. Maybe I'll upgrade to Mary as a Little Lamb. But
Yeah.
my final question for you, Ben, is what's next? Can you say what you're doing next?
No,
Are there projects you can tell us about?
I haven't got a project in the pipeline. I'm searching for one. It's a tricky thing. Yeah, I'm searching, and well, one of the things that I am doing is developing my own music, which I don't need a film for.
Hmm.
And I think that kind of keeps one grounded, and the creativity sort of flowing. So I'm just putting an ensemble together. And I mean, another thing that I'm doing is nothing to do with films. I'm orchestrating some music for my own band. We're playing with the Britain Sinfonia in April. So that's really fun to orchestrate, write music for contrabassoons and piccolos and the timpanis and all that stuff. But in terms of film work, no, I'm searching. If someone's got a good idea that needs some music, I'll give it a go.
Hit Ben up. Well, it is. Is it the year of the horse? We're filming this on Chinese New Year and Pancake Day, and it's the year of the horse. So
There we
maybe
go.
you'll get some. You'll get the next film.
Great.
Thank you so much for lending us your time today, Ben. It has been so fascinating to pick your brains.
Good, good. I'm glad. Thank you.